Hi.
Hello.
Thank you
This is
so
Jeff.
much for taking time to speak with me today.
Pleasure.
My family and I watched, I guess it was like the first 40 minutes of the movie. So I'm really excited to talk about it. My
Right.
son is mad that the screener ended when it did. He was a little salty about it, but
Leave them wanting
he's,
more. That's the way.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the mark of a good one, right? He wants to see how it ends. So, but yes, what made you want to work on Sea Beast? What excited you about telling the story?
Just the scope and challenge of it for me, like I like solving problems, and there's so many challenges in this world. It was obvious that it was a big undertaking, and I think and fear of failure is somehow motivating that way. Yeah, and it strikes a really unique tone. One thing that's near and dear to my heart is the idea of more sophisticated performances, and even though this movie's for everyone, it's absolutely all audience. The idea of like in our acting choices and tone just being a little bit more sophisticated, that really intrigued me.
Well, I really like how each monster that I saw on the screener was unique. Can you share some of your inspiration behind the designs, and were any more challenging to create or animate than the others?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. I listened to the process of the designs, but I didn't steer those at all. That's production art and director. But I did get to sit in on all this design teams and see where the influences, what creature combinations were, and what things in real life uh, were being drawn from, and hearing what the art team was bringing to it did inform a lot of like what creatures we wanted them to move like. Tentacles are another thing that's always hard. So this creature that's got tentacles was a tricky thing. We didn't talk about it much in the another conversation, but because this is a big creature visual effects spectacle, these beasts are so big. There's a lot of simulation on them too. There's a lot of like just to get that sense of scale, that flesh and the skin. When it's not a rigid shell, it's all the other soft parts. We have a whole other team that would do that after animation as well. And for performances of them, we just looked at life, nature, as much as we could draw from actual creatures. We always we never wanted them to tip into feeling anthropomorphic at all. There's no human brain. Their eyes move like a creature's eyes. They don't move like our eyes. They want to see that animal thinking, which is basically food and hunt.
It definitely reminded me of, I don't know if you've ever seen River Monsters on Discovery Animal Planet, but
Might have. I'm not familiar with the name, but but it's possible.
I mean, he goes after these things that aren't in the sea, they're in the river, and you're just like, oh my God, how did these things actually exist? But
Yeah.
you guys mentioned earlier in the presentation about kind of drawing from some monster movies. Can you give us some hints as to what kind of Easter eggs we should be watching out for? I know Moby Dick was mentioned.
Yeah, well, you've got that little yellow buoy, which is definitely a Jaws nod. And I think we mostly watched the other movies. I don't know if there's really references. There's not like those kind of Easter eggs because this is in the movie. We mostly watched the large creature films as inspiration for the team. Like, this is how much we can push physicality and skirting that line for believability, but getting to move fast, so it's not all slow, because always the bigger it is, the slower it has to move. But it's animation, so we want to push that line a little bit further. It was just pointing out specific examples like that is a lot of what we do with the team.
Did you have the opportunity to work with the actors at all? I know production started in person and it moved to virtual to kind of inform the overall animation.
Yeah, no, then even that was all done remotely. So we would get the video references. I would get the footage after the fact and draw from what we could. And then every animator brings their own life into it too.
So you've worked on various types of animation, from Into the Spider-Verse, which is very unique, to more of the live action animation in Lion Witch and the Wardrobe. Do you prefer one style over another?
Like I said earlier, I like anything I haven't done before, and this was absolutely right in that wheelhouse. It was a new type of thing. Spider-Verse was fantastically creative and very graphic. And this is more of a deep dive into craft. We didn't want, like, I think Matthias said this earlier today, but didn't want this to feel like there was style in your face, that there was something between you and the audience, or it in the audience, but rather like how much could every single thing look like a labor of love.
All right, so my last question is, I know this can be hard to pick, but if you had to pick one of the sea beasts or characters, which one is your favorite, or which one do you most relate to?
You know what? I go back and forth between Crow and Sarah Sharp as my favorite characters. They're just designs are so gorgeous. Their outfits are just rad. Yeah, we go back and forth between those two. They're both scene stealers whenever they're on camera.
Sarah is very awesome. I do like her a lot. Well, that's all I have for you, but I appreciate the time.
Right on. Pleasure.